So, UFO has done two things to my mind. A, it's changed the way that we've actually view movies in this country, but also for you personally, it was in a sense a turning point. It was a point where people began to stand up and take notice of you. You got the kind of recognition that you perhaps wouldn't have got if you had continued to do only Apollo International, right?
Yeah, media is that kind of a business.
Yeah.
I mean, that's first off. And it did give me a lot of recognition, and it put me on a lot of different platforms, because we in the first year went out and started talking so much on the piracy issue, whether it was a platform of fighting anti-piracy and corruption in Geneva, which is a body under the UN. And, we were nominated for the Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young.
Yeah.
So
it's been a phenomenal 5 years for you, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We do have a very long way to go. I mean, our aim is to be able to, literally finish that entire celluloid story in India.
A time for us to take a break, but we'll be back. We're in conversation with Raja Kabba. Let me talk to you about the next big opportunity as far as UFO movies is concerned, and that really is the IPL, and a lot of people wondering if the economics of it makes sense or not. Take us through how it's going to actually work for UFO.
Well, we are a service provider. As far as the IPL is concerned, like we are for the movies. Even in the movies, we do not take any position as far as the distribution is concerned, or the production, or the exhibition.
Right.
So we are like a telecom company. So we make money on the airtime that is used. Initially, when we had thought about this idea, we had also said that by the time after 2 or 3 years, by the time we are at about 2,500, 3,000 theaters, we'll have a digital infrastructure in place. So when you have that digital infrastructure in place with 2,000 theaters, you can literally beam anything into these theaters.
Right.
So we had just played around with the idea that time that we can even air Filmfare Awards. We can air the Miss India pageant.
Right.
And that time there was nothing called IPL, but we spoke about sports events, which could be aired and people could go in the comfort of the theater and watch these shows. Anyways, we were able to really come out with the technology. We were able to put our hands on it as far as developing it in a way where there's no delay when you show the game. So it's absolutely in real time. You're watching on 70 mm, sitting in a nice plush chair, and enjoying yourself with
popcorn
people.
And 1,000 other people.
1,000 other people.
So it's a revenue sharing agreement with the halls that you've actually tied up with. You've got about, 900 odd screens that you've actually tied up with?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of the multiplexes in all the big cities are with us. That's the time that now a producer has decided he's never going to come out with a movie because everybody's too busy watching IPL. So
for about 400 to 500 bucks a ticket.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So they will go there, they will see the thing, there is a stadium kind of an environment we are going to be able to create there with cheerleaders and a lot of
So you're spending all of that money on the cheerleaders and everything else, or are the cinema halls also pitching in with any of that?
No, we will be handling most of it. We are going after corporates who want to advertise in the theater. There's banners that are going to be placed all over the place. There are in-screen banners that are going to come. There's going to be a lot of advertising revenue that's going to kick in for
What's the projection for the first year? Because this is really going to be an experiment in that sense. So what are you projecting for the first year?
Well, let's see. Those contracts are still underway, and we hopefully will see a good year end. We've been so far in the last 2 years, we've been a bit positive. But I feel with IPL kicking in, as well as now a lot of advertising has started kicking in due to IPL into our theaters.
Right.
So, you have the HLLs and all these other guys who was looking at this medium to say, should I jump? Should I get into this, or should I wait it out? So you have a lot of those people who are saying, hey, let's try it out now. So you're getting bigger contracts, you're getting a lot of government contracts. And here you have 2,000 theaters with an average seating capacity of about 600. So you have a lot of people over there going into the theaters without holding a remote control.
So what kind of investments are we actually talking about? How much have you already invested into UFO movies? You've also brought on some investors on board recently. How much more are we actually looking at in terms of capital infusion?
We won't look at any more capital infusion. We are looking at, internal accruals. We are taking debt into the game. We ourselves, between Apollo and Sanjay Gaikwad, have invested close to about 200 crores. We have 3i who has invested about 100 crores. So from here on, we don't look at investing any more going forward.
But any plans at all to look at a listing in the future?
Absolutely.
Is that a consideration?
Absolutely. Otherwise, all the people who are holding the shares.
Yeah, and especially since you want to go the Infosys route. So
absolutely. We were looking at an IPO earlier, but when the market slumped a little bit, we just put some brakes on it. And we're looking to be able to improve our balance sheet a little bit. So I feel that within this year, within this next financial year, you will see something going on.
You're already looking at about 2,000 odd screens, but I believe there is now a push to sort of go into the really small towns into India. You've invested or are planning to invest in what? Small mall technology, is that what it's called? And
yeah? That is Sanjay's other venture that he's getting into.
So that's not part of UFO?
No, as UFO, we are a service provider.
Okay.
For us, it's great because, that's a technology that's going to be used.
Okay.
Where he's going to go right into the rural India, and he's created a very beautiful and cheap model to be able to put up theaters in very, very small places.
How have you sort of changed and evolved?
The biggest thing that I've learned in India, working in India, is how to be able to be absolutely patient.
Let me talk to you about your latest passion. It's a 4-month-old baby for you, and that's your foray into the logistics business. Why the decision after UFO to actually go the logistics way?
I'm always itching to do something new, and UFO is getting established. It's running well. Like a good, well-oiled machine. And I was saying to my guys internally, a few people who are very close to me, who work with me, to say that let's get into something on the infrastructure side. We looked at different sectors which were getting privatized, but we saw, that each one of these was too crowded, too much competition already.
Yeah.
So we said, and then one of the areas that we looked at was logistics.
Right.
And within the logistics space also, logistics space is huge.
Right.
There are all different kinds of models to be able to get into this business, and India needs every one of them. We decided to get into starting with container freight stations or dry ports, putting up dry ports all over the country. Made a map of about 9 or 10 locations that we are going to come up with. But our idea going beyond that is to get into logistics from end to end. So we are in the process of setting up a third-party logistic business where, people running, let's say an Apollo Tires or a Hindustan Lever or any of the Pepsi or a Coke could come and say that, okay, fine, you give me the raw material into my factories in time, pick up my finished product, take it into your warehouses and distribute it for me. So that entire chain is what we want to be working on.
And so you've also done a joint venture with a Canadian company for the warehouse business, right?